everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I am Vince.
And welcome to Geeks Not Nerds, the podcast. Today, we're going to do a review of Kick-Ass.
Yes.
Indeed, which I guess is one of those places where I am forced to use profanity on our program. Because it's just the name of the film, right?
Apparently, I can't believe they got away with that. I believe
Really?
in the comic world, but putting ass in a title.
Yeah?
That surprises me a little bit.
Even though it's a rated R film, I mean.
Well, I mean, you can say kick-ass on television, can't you? Didn't they advertise it that way? Well, maybe I wasn't paying attention.
I don't remember. Yeah, they did. No, you're right, they did. Although I'm not sure on, like, regular television you can really say that, but...
It just surprised me that it was everywhere.
I mean, I think they put it in the commercials just because it was part of the... No, you're right. Although, and I don't want to make the whole podcast about this, but I would say that this could be helping to lead society into a place where this sort of thing is more acceptable. I would not be surprised if things got more lax than they already are in the next 10, 20, 30 years to where, you know, F-bombs are more appropriate and that sort of thing, even in PG-13 things, and that, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. This could be the beginning of something. We could certainly start seeing more of this kind of stuff in titles. But anyway, I don't know. It's not really that big of a deal. I have been seeing, you know, already people reviewing this film not feeling comfortable even putting the title in the title of their reviews, so they're using, like, $ for S's and stuff.
That's dumb.
I think it's strange, yeah.
$ for S's. I'm not sure what word he's trying to get at here.
Penn and Teller's box sets say BS in big letters on the front of the box sets because they can't really call it what it really is.
And everybody knows what BS is, though.
Right, absolutely. But anyway, that all is neither here nor there. So, you saw the PG-13 trailer and thought it looked great, and then I showed you the R trailer, and like me, you thought it then looked terrible, and I was extremely surprised by it.
The previews were a poor representation of what was actually in the film. I mean, and
we've talked about this before, right? Like we did a whole podcast on how trailers don't tell you enough.
So this just proves their point.
Wonderful example.
See, the PG-13 trailer showed us that it was a movie that was not necessarily 100% acceptable for kids, but it was something that was going to be witty and humorous and just a straightforward comedy all the way through, and it was not. And that's my opinion.
Sure, right.
And then the rated R trailer, that showed us that it was going to be not so much a witty comedy, but just, you know, something kind of filthy, something that got into the teenage sex drive, and then used that as an engine to drive the comedy. And
that we were supposed to laugh at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't entirely that either.
Yeah, luckily most of that was out of the way I'd say within the first 10-15 minutes.
Most of the stuff that was in the rated R trailer was in that first 10 or 15 minutes.
It was a lot like saying, look guys, I am a kid, I have these human issues, or I'm a teenager, I have these teenage issues, and I know you're going through the same thing, so now you can relate to me.
I also would say that the film would have worked just fine without that.
Agreed. And I think a lot of the profanity worked.
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm gonna say that. There have been movies like, I'll mention this again. There have been movies like Halloween 2, where the F-bombs just got in the way, and you know, I don't usually like them, and I'm not gonna say I liked it, but yet it didn't get in the way here. After a while, I kind of forgot about it, and it was there. It was all the way through, but I kind of forgot about it.
This may surprise you, but during the movie, some of the F-bombs kind of got in my way. I went, meh. Didn't like that, but I disregarded it because I didn't care. I thought, you know, if this thing just had a few less F-bombs, it would be great.
And there were a few places in which the F-bombs were even, may I say, kind of funny.
Oh, yeah.
One or two places. And there were a couple of other places where profanity was just really funny.
Yeah, and they show the little girl using profanity. They show Hit Girl using profanity in the rated R trailer.
They do, yeah, and that turned me off.
And initially, when I saw that, I thought, that's stupid. But then I saw it in the movie, and it was really funny. However, I do have a qualm with it.
Ooh, go ahead.
Meaning that Big Daddy is such a superhero guy. He gets into the mystique of it.
Why does he have his little girl talking like
Because he doesn't talk like that.
No, not at all.
it pretty much relates her to the people. Now we have to assume that where she gets the profanity from is from the people who she fights, because that would be the most readily sourced. Otherwise, we're talking TV, and then that's an entirely different thing.
Yeah, and in movies, and they do make it pretty obvious that she's watched a lot of movies, and that she's watched a lot of violent movies.
They do say that she's doing homework while she's reading a comic book.
Yep.
So maybe I'm a little off base by this, but still, I still think it's a valid complaint that
no, absolutely.
That Big Daddy would not want her daughter doing it because it relates her, the villain.
Yeah, well, he's trying to there's a big theme in the film that he's not giving her a childhood. Mm-hmm. And I like that. That was really interesting. And so he's bringing her up in this really strict kind of fashion. And it seems to me like he would be a little bit more no-nonsense than that. But I also didn't to let her use profanity. But what I really liked was that he's bringing her up to kill people, and it is played up for laughs, and it's kind of creepy, and yet they make me like both of these characters, even though they're mass murdering freaks. Really, I mean they are, and they do it with these really tender moments where like they're drinking hot chocolate, and they even make the first scene that we see with them where he's training her. They even make that a really tender moment, and I guess. Should we be careful not to give anything away, or like, should we talk about things? Like, how are we going to handle this one?
I think we need to walk a fine line here.
Because we are recommending it, and I want people to see it.
I think we should get into the plot so that people know that the plot is good. It's not just some sort of teenage sex joke.
Well, anyway, I will say that the first scene we see of them is
that would leave the gags out.
Is like this really kind of violent thing, and yet it's this really tender scene, and I was very surprised by it. And really, it was also hilarious.
That's the thing, is that they're using Big Daddy as this incredible vigilante. I would almost say that they handled Big Daddy when in the fight scenes. Let me clarify.
Sure.
Almost the way the Punisher should be handled.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He walks in. He takes care of business. He just does it. He does it with. He's cold. He's heartless. Mm-hmm. He just does it. And that's what's fascinating to me about Big Daddy. Now, off the scenes, there's no relation.
No, not at all. But
other than some family dying, but not quite the same thing.
Sure. So let's get into story a little bit. First of all, was pleasantly surprised to find that there was one.
Yeah.
And that it was a decently thick story for what it was. That it has a lot of it has a lot of nice intricacies, as intricate as I think a movie like this has the ability of being. And that all of the various plots do really come together in the third act.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I like how some of our characters don't really get much screen time with some of our other characters until midway through, or even third act, and yet they still manage to give those characters time to bond and know each other. It's really well handled, and may I also say that neither of us have read the comics.
No.
Just haven't gotten to it. Just didn't get there, and so I would wager from the people that I've talked to that the movie probably stuck pretty close to the comics. I would be surprised to find that if it didn't because of what the story was, because the story seemed to unfold in a very way, and it seemed to unfold in a way that made sense with the people who were in charge of this thing, right? Mm-hmm. With it was Mark Millar
and John Romita.
Romita, yeah. So,
Junior?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, go ahead.
The interesting thing, we were talking about this, that Cap here said earlier that this is essentially a silly Watchmen.
Well, I don't want to say silly Watchmen. I'd rather say it's a humorous Watchmen.
Yeah, there we go.
I don't think it's necessarily silly, even.
See, the thing about it is that the reason he said that, no, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure, yeah.
Is that...
Because we didn't really talk about it.
I think the reason you said that was that it takes place in the real world. Or it says, this is a real world plus superheroes. Mm-hmm. And I disagree. I don't think it's the real world.
No, I don't think it is either. I think that they're both, in a way, trying to present it that way.
Yeah. I think what it really is...
But Watchmen isn't either.
This is like...
They're both stylized, and they're both stylized in kind of similar ways. Kind of. Except that one is trying to be funny, and the other is just trying to be over the top, which is different.
Mm-hmm. See, the real world doesn't exist, because it's comic book world, definitely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And what's interesting thing to me about this is that they can get away with so much because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we're sitting there laughing because it's supposed to have these relations to the real world, we fully understand that we are in a comic book universe.